Alright, airplane. Let's get moving. There must be a military base near my house or something, because I get these loud f***ing jets just f***ing up my recording, bitch! What's up, guys? My name is Mike, and this is The Bored Cyborg. Welcome back to yet another episode of What I've Watched, which is a series where I get the chance to talk about some of the films that I've watched. You know, I watch usually one movie a night, and, you know, I can't talk about them all in depth, so I like to do these videos to kind of go through a few that I deem worthy of talking about, and kind of give you my thoughts on them, and how I felt about them, if I recommend them, that sort of thing, if they're staying in the collection, which there's one that I'm kind of questionable about in the stack here. So what do I've got here? I've got 5 movies that I'm going to talk about it, so let's get right into it. First one up. Now, you might have to forgive me, because I did watch this one a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of forgettable. So, that is Jumper. Directed by an underrated director, a man that I am a fan of, Doug Liman. He did, my favorite of his is Go, from the 90s, 98 I believe, which is a sort of a late 90s version, rave scene version of Pulp Fiction in terms of its storytelling and narrative. And this one stars Hayden Christensen, and I'm pretty sure it's based on a young adult novel. I usually don't get down with those kind of movies too much. They usually get too lovey-dovey and squeaky clean for me. But that, yeah, like I said, this is Jumper. And it's a sci-fi film with a really cool concept. And to be honest, the first act, I was in. They got me with the first act, and I was totally on board because I really like the concept. It essentially follows this group of people. Well, Hayden Christensen's character doesn't know it's a group of people. He thinks he's unique. And essentially, they teleport. Jumper is kind of a slang way to say that they teleport. He learns to harness it in the first act, and he's just teleporting everywhere. He's robbing banks. They can't solve it because it's impossible, because he's just teleporting into the bank vault and then out with a whole bag of money. Really cool concept, right? This film really starts to fall apart in the second act. It's got a villain played by Sam Jack, who's doing Sam Jack, and he's okay. He doesn't have much to do. He's just kind of fights Hayden Christensen's character. He's tracking him. Doesn't have much to say or do, but he's there. The action is pretty shoddy. It ain't nothing like Edge of Tomorrow or Live, Die, Repeat, which is also directed by Doug Liman. He definitely refined his action sensibilities by the time he did that. So the action sequences aren't that great. I mean, there is cool utilization of the teleportation, and the teleportation looks good in terms of the CG. It looks fine. It looks great. It holds up well. And Hayden Christensen, I don't hate in this film. He's okay. He wasn't bad. He's definitely better in this film than he was in the prequels. That could probably go unsaid. But, the direction's fine. It's just something... I don't know. Maybe the book is better. There's just not enough here. He doesn't do enough cool stuff with the power. And the power is so... I mean, it's infinite what you could do with it. And I just... Oh, and the romance. Oh, Lord. The romance might have been fine if it wasn't for the actress that played the main female lead, and that is Rachel Bilson. How she got into movies, she was from a TV show or something like The OC or some shit that my friends used to watch. I think ironically, I hated it. I used to go over to his house and they'd be watching, and I'd be like, all right guys, see you later. But yeah, so Rachel Bilson is abysmal. I mean, she's no presence, no quirkiness. I don't like her at all. I didn't like her at all. She's got weird eyes. I don't know. It's not about the way she looks. She looks fine. She's cute. But she is not a good actress by any means. She has no charisma. It's bad performance. And really, this would have been a solid, 3-star film for me. But it just ended up being, average 2.5. If it wasn't for Rachel Bilson. But it is what it is. It's also got Jamie Bell, who plays one of the other kids who has the jumping ability. And, yeah, I'll keep it in the collection. Maybe. I don't know. It's kind of on the border. Jumper. Let me know what you think. I don't think it's that great. I really can't feel my legs. So the next one up I watched last night as of recording this video, and it's my 3rd or 4th time watching it. and I did see it when it came out. I was about 9 years old, watched it with the family. It was a hell of a time. I have many fond memories watching this. Air Force One. This is Harrison Ford's Die Hard. I mean, that's all you need to say, right? It's Die Hard on a plane. Passenger 57 did it really well too. I think this one does it better, and that's mostly due to Wolfgang Petersen's direction. He shoots action in a very visceral way, and it's a very violent film, actually. Surprisingly violent, watching it again after a few years. Very violent. It's got some scenes that are like, oof, you know, it's just, you wince, it's like, ew, damn, that's f***ed up. And it's constantly moving. It's almost 2 hours. It's really a 4-act film, too, which is interesting. The setup is perfect. It's a great movie. I'm not saying the movie's perfect, because it isn't. I think it has a few, I don't know. I don't know what the dings are against this film. I can't really pinpoint them, which is interesting. I usually can. But maybe it's something to do with the pacing. Maybe it could have been tightened up a little bit. Everything's on point. The editing, the cinematography, the claustrophobic nature, because the film takes place essentially in 2 sets. One set is the conference room with the White House, at the White House. The other is the plane, Air Force One, which if you don't know is, well, everybody knows, I'm sure, but Air Force One is the president's plane. It's the plane he uses to get around. The villain is played by Gary Oldman, and he plays a Russian, and he does a phenomenal job. His temper is so short, and he has so many moments where he just goes from, hey, you know, he's just talking normally to, ah, f*** you! He's just flipping out, and you really feel the tense nature of Gary Oldman's, the way that he approaches these kind of characters. You know, he just freaks out, and it's awesome. So, obviously, Harrison Ford is doing his John McClane thing. Harrison Ford plays the president, James Marshall, but he was in the war, and he was in Vietnam, and he was a fighter. I think he was a pilot as well, but it's mentioned in the film that he knows how to fight. He knows combat, and the element of surprise is on his side, because he outwits these fucking terrorists constantly. And he was supposed to be ejected from the plane via an escape pod, but he snuck out, and because his wife and kid were on the plane, and he's like, I'm not leaving without my kids, which is a line he repeats, which is so stoic. The film is patriotic, yes, but not overtly patriotic. Maybe a little bit. Glenn Close plays the vice president. The score in this is Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith did the score here. So, you know, Alien, he's phenomenal. Rest in peace. Such a great score. Yeah, the third act basically ends with Harrison Ford saving the day, you know, and kicking the villain, Gary Oldman, off of the plane. But the movie doesn't end there. It picks up on another act, which involves Harrison Ford trying to land the plane safely. And it's intense. So in the fourth act, we get dog fights. You know, because they're over restricted airspace, so the Kazakhstan fighters are after them, trying to shoot it down, and so they call in the American jet fighters, and now we're having like a dog fight. The CG holds up really well, and it's because they know how to light it, they know how to shoot it from a certain distance or up really close. They know how to do it, and it's CG utilized really well for 97, and I approve of it. It's obvious it's CG, but it works. A really cool character, Xander Berkeley, plays a Secret Service agent who basically catalyzes the event, the terrorist event. He's working with the Russians, essentially. The audience knows this from the get-go, because it shows him doing this stuff, helping them out, getting their weapons. But Harrison Ford doesn't know. Nobody else knows but the villains. So it creates this really awesome dynamic. And the cool thing about Xander Berkeley's performance is that he utters like 3 or 4 lines in the whole film. It's all expressions. And the way he kind of, you know, he's like, yes sir, yes sir. And then Harrison Ford kind of walks past him, and he changes his facial expression to, you know, I'm gonna kill him. You know, I'm part of this, I'm gonna get my money, whatever he's in it for. So it's a really cool dynamic and a really underrated performance by character actor Xander Berkeley, because it's all expressive. And that really, really resonated with me this time around. Something I didn't really pick up on when I was young, obviously, or even a few years back watching it. It's a very physical performance, and really, really cool. So that is Air Force One. I could talk about this more. This is one of those types of films. I love this movie. Love it. I think it's a great film. 3.5 out of 4. Definitely. Get off my plane! Next one up was another rewatch, folks. Love the Rambo movies. I love First Blood. Probably my favorite. I grew up with 2 and 3. I grew up playing the video game, Rambo 3 on the Genesis, which I adore and I need to pick up again. Love the Rambo movies. Stallone, some of his best. And I didn't watch any of the first 3. I watched Rambo 4, otherwise known as Rambo or John Rambo. I've seen it before, once or twice. I believe this was the 3rd time. And I remember watching the trailer to this movie, and it was the most violent trailer I had ever seen. Where he's got the 50mm gun, and he's just blowing people into bits. This film is remarkable in terms of its violence. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is a straight-up action film. 3 acts and it's over. Characters that aren't too memorable. You know, a lot of the team that he works with and a lot of the Christian missionaries and things like that aren't very memorable. But it's about Rambo. He's kind of reclusive. He's living in, Indonesia or Burma. It's Burma. And he's living in Burma or near Burma for whatever reason. And he's got a simple life. He's like a fisherman. He lets people use his boat. He kind of transports people. And so these missionaries come in and they want to bring food and supplies and medical attention to a lot of the Burmese people. It's like it's a genocide happening, which is still going on, I believe. Believe me when I say this film is not for the faint of heart in terms of violence. It is brutal. And Rambo is the most brutal he's ever been. And I hope Rambo 5 keeps this up. Sylvester Stallone directed this, and the visceral nature of the action, it's unbelievable, honestly. I mean, people's heads are exploding, people's arms are getting blown off, intestines are dropping to the floor as once he slices their stomachs open. Some just brutal shit. Children get stabbed on screen, women and children get stabbed on screen and killed, blown to smithereens. It's crazy, and it's non-stop action after the setup. After like 20-25 minutes, maybe the first act is all set up, and then it just boom, 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 boom until the end, and it's Rambo kicking ass with his red fucking bandana or sash, whatever you want to call it. One of his best that he's directed. Better than all of the Expendables films. And I believe he only directed the first one, but better than all of them. Rambo is awesome. Rambo 4 is fantastic. I'm looking forward to 5. I hope they don't f*** it up. God, I hope they don't f*** it up. So Rambo 4, fucking unbelievably violent, awesome action movie. And it's gratifying, and I hope Rambo 5 keeps that up. Sly, if you're directing, I'm not sure if he's directing. I hope he doesn't f*** it up. Just keep with this same kind of tone. Amp it up a little bit. I don't know how you could possibly amp up the violence, but that 50mm shot where he just grabs the 50mm and shoots a poor man from 3 feet away a lot with like 40 rounds, and he just keeps shooting, and it's just like a wad of flesh at a certain point just like convulsing and just exploding into more and more smaller wads of flesh. It's so good. Rambo. Hell yeah. Alright, so next up is a film that I really don't like, and that is Kirk Wong's The Big Hit. Kirk Wong was a Hong Kong director, Hong Kong action crime sort of director in the 80s and early 90s, and then he came to America like a lot of Hong Kong directors were, John Woo, Ronnie Yu, people like that. And so Kirk Wong got his chance to prove himself in America. And I don't think he did too much of a good job, because he got one other film after this, and the other director that's credited to it is Alan Smithee. So, yeah, he's not made a film since, which is sad because his Hong Kong stuff was really good. The Big Hit stars Mark Wahlberg, Lou Diamond Phillips, Bokeem Woodbine, and Antonio Sabato Jr., but to say it stars him it's kind of bullshit because he's in it for the first 5 minutes and the last minute. So it follows these 4 like low-level hitmen kind of crime dudes. Not too low-level, not petty, but they're making hits, doing shit like that. And right off the bat, they all talk. They're all from. It's a New York film. It takes place in New York, and they all talk so street. Like that. It's like when you don't know how street people actually were talking in the 90s. And I sort of do because of the hip-hop I was listening to and because of how I was speaking because of the hip-hop with my friends. So I know how that kind of speech was, and a lot of films get it wrong. Ebonics, I guess you could call it, just street talk, slang, right? A lot of films get it wrong. Some get it right. Some films like, like Fresh, Boys in the Hood, obviously they get it right. Juice. But The Big Hit gets it really wrong, and it's got Mark Dacascos like, yo, what's up, man? Like, what are we doing? Like, we going over here? We doing this? It's just like, oh my god, it's like beyond New York accent. I don't have a problem with the New York. I love the New York accent. Some people say I have a little bit of it because where I grew up in Connecticut, it's not that. It's the dialogue. It's written by some. It sounds like it's written by some old white guy that has no idea how people actually communicate in urban environments, especially at the time in the late 90s. So that's a big issue. But other than that, it's just this kooky, off-the-wall, self-aware kind of parody of Tarantino type of films. And it's not good. It's not good. The action's not shot particularly well, which is... actually, it's not shot well at all. I would say it's below average. I mean, I wasn't impressed with the opening sequence or any of the sequences, really. The final sequence takes place in a video store of all places, and it wasn't bad. It was a decent little fight. Not shot very well. It had a whole bunch of Troma posters everywhere, which was cool, though. But, Alicia Silverstone's in this, and Mark Wahlberg is the lead, and he's sort of he's this hitman, but he's got the heart, like a really soft heart. It just doesn't work for me. He wants to please these two women. He says all he wants them to do is like him, and I know it's all part of the joke, but I didn't like the two women, especially Alicia Silverstone. She was just annoying, and her parents were even more annoying. One was played by Elliot Gould. Wahlberg's just awkward. I don't think he's a good actor. He gets better as his career goes on with things like Shooter and The Departed, of course, but, he's okay. He's good in those, but not in this, and I hate his hair. It's like this weird light brown color. It just bugs me. I don't know. This film just bugged me. Not a big fan of The Big Hit. This one may end up leaving the collection sometime soon. So, let me know what you guys think. I don't think it's very good. Next one up I do think is very good. And that is a film that's taken me quite some time to get to. I'm surprised I didn't see this in the 90s when Jet Li was gaining his popularity in America. That is Meltdown. This film is also known as High Risk. And it is directed by Jing Wong, or Wong Jing, who is a prolific Hong Kong action director. He's done a lot of types of films, diverse director. He's directed over 100 films in Hong Kong. He knows what he's doing. He's a good director, and he knows how to shoot action. High Risk, or Meltdown as it's called here, is Jet Li's Die Hard. That's all I needed to know. It's also a parody of Jackie Chan. It's got an actor named Jackie Chung, who's part of that group of four Chinese, the Cantonese Four or whatever, that like the pop singer / actors. Jackie Chung plays Jackie Chan, and he's a character. He's a caricature of Jackie, and it's a parody of Jackie. I don't think it's in bad taste. Some people seem to think it's in bad taste. I don't think so. He's a fun character, and Jet Li, this film is in English and it's overdubbed, and growing up with these types of movies, I'm used to it. I want to find this movie in the original Cantonese or Mandarin, whatever it was, in the original Chinese language, but it's not present here because, I think this is is this Miramax? No, it's not, but, New Line and Miramax and a bunch of these companies in the 90s just kind of threw on some more American music and, English-speaking actors, and I hate it because Jet Li, I don't know how well he was speaking English at this time, but I wish it was his voice, even if they went back and overdubbed it, which is never going to happen. But this is Die Hard with Jet Li. It takes place in a high-rise building that has some really expensive jewelry that the terrorists are after. What was the villain? The villain was named the Doctor, that was it. The Doctor. And the actor who plays him, which I don't know his name, did a really good job. Again, he was overdubbed, so it's a little cheesy. But this film is even more violent than Die Hard, I'd say. Not more brutal, but more violent. Like, there's more violence, and some of the shots of people's heads getting blown off, things like that. But it's all done in a very facetious sort of manner. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which is great. It kind of finds that fine line between action and comedy. Leans more towards action, but Jet Li's fantastic, some awesome set pieces. He's doing his John McClane thing, and you're in for a treat when a film opens up with a school bus full of children, or a bus full of children and a teacher gets blown up. Yes, the doctor kills a whole bunch of kids, including Jet Li's wife. So Jet Li gets his revenge. It's very much like Die Hard. There are shots and scenes that, you know, even the hacker guy is a lot like the hacker guy in Die Hard. So there are so many similarities. It is definitely a ripoff. It is definitely derivative, but it is so much fun. Wireworks, sparks flying in typical Hong Kong fashion. Wong Jing shoots a great action sequence. Jet Li is Jet Li. He's badass as usual. Such a fun movie. Check it out if you want to see Jet Li's version of Die Hard. All the great action stars have them. Seagal in Under Siege, you know, I could go on and on. Keanu Reeves in Speed. Meltdown, otherwise known as High Risk, starring Jet Li, directed by Wong Jing. Great movie. Check it out. Alright, so that does it for the films that I deemed worthy of talking about with you guys that I've watched in the last couple weeks, maybe week or so. And some of them I really enjoyed, some of them not so much. So it was a kind of a mixed bag this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell for notifications. And I'd love to know which films you guys have seen from the ones I talked about today and what your thoughts on them are. What's your favorite? That kind of thing. Let's get a little discussion going as usual. Anyways, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg out. I have nothing clever this time. My legs!